Welcome everyone, welcome to the first lesson, number one, the mini lessons, first in the mini lessons. And today we'll be talking just about liquidity points. So just a heads up again, if I haven't said this before, well, obviously this is the first one. This will be mini lessons, and then later on at the end, you'll be watching the boot camps. So just for you to understand the structure, we first off started with our original content. Then we evolved and developed some new things. We then hosted the bootcamp number one. After that, we went through a further phase of developing, and then we started Bootcamp 2. But then there was the need, the old content was not relevant anymore, so those content, all of that were removed from the course, and we then decided to only do Bootcamp 2 with mini lessons on each subject, specifically for the first part. So we'll be going through some mini lessons, and we'll be posting them on the platform, and you'll be able to watch it. So everything that you see here in the bootcamp will be amplified or explained again. So actually the bootcamp was first. We first did that. So I'll now just explain further on the bootcamp, but you'll be probably watching this first and then the bootcamp. So don't get confused. Just watch this first and then carry on as the syllabus is laid out on the platform. Okay, so first of all, today we'll be looking at liquidity and just explaining the areas and the type of liquidity that we are looking for and things that we need to see out. So I'll probably just be doing some diagrams and then be looking at some examples on the charts, and then you'll be able to see more examples in the bootcamp. So I want to make these lessons a bit shorter, not as long, so they're more digestible, and you can quickly watch it, apply it to the charts, see it for yourself, and then carry on. So we'll be looking at a few examples. So first of all, this is just a 4-hour time frame, so don't pay too much attention to this, but we're going to be talking about these things. I'm just going to put it in the corner. I will be drawing them down here. So first of all, we're looking at liquidity, and we'll be talking about order blocks, previous highs and lows, and imbalance. So you've probably seen or heard of order blocks, previous highs and lows, and imbalance. If you have not, just stay tuned. You will get all the info you need. So ideally finish everything and then start to formulate your trading plan once you've gone through all the content. So don't get discouraged if you hear something now that does not completely make sense to you. So I'll be explaining just in brief the definitions, but in later sections you'll get a fuller explanation on each topic. So first of all, a order block. So we know an order block as an area in price where we have an impulsive move towards the downside and then a strong move back towards the upside. Something like this. So this area, we also call it a sell to buy. So we would often see price moving down and then impulsively moving back up again. So there's a few key characteristics that I follow that validates an order block for me or validates an area for me. So this is our order block, or it is our sell to buy. That's the abbreviation that we'll just be using over there. And on the lower time frame, so let's say this is the 1 hour, we can just take a note there and we can just say that this is our 1H time frame. Then perhaps on the lower time frames, you would see a series of down candles. You would see a move down, another move down, another strong move down, and then a big move up. Those series of down candles, this up movement is the wick, that will be your order block on the lower time frame. Let's say this is perhaps the 3-minute time frame, or the 1 minute, or let's say the 1 minute time frame. And then that would then also be your, it's important to note that this will be your sell to buy, but also we can have a defined OB. What does that mean? That means basically that we can then look at the last sell area in that sequence towards the downside and make that as our order block. You can see the resemblance between this sketch and this one, the same thing, just a different time frame, 1 hour, 1 minute. But we'll get more to that in later videos and explaining that a bit better. So we have order blocks, and a quick example of a order block would be just quickly here. We can see over here we have this down candle and then a big move towards the upside. So while we on this, the characteristics or the key concepts that I need to see that I'm looking for when I'm looking for an order block, for me it would be the following. It is a full body candle. It doesn't need to be completely full, but that is the ideal. We need a clean leg out, a strong structure break. Those are some of the key concepts and elements that I'm looking for when I'm looking for an order block, a zone. And we'll identify and talk about this a bit more now. We can see that there's almost full body candle. It's more than 50%. Then we have this clean leg out, meaning that the candle after it is cleanly pushing full body, just pushing back towards the upside. And then we have a strong structure break. And then there we have our structure break. What does that mean? Structure break is just a break in the previous structure to the left or to the right. So there's our previous high, and we can see that this move towards the upside completely broke this structure towards the upside, and we call this a structure break. So we can identify it as a SB structure break. So that is our order blocks. Previous highs and lows is very simple. It's just where price created a swing point, so here we have 3 candles. So we have 1, 2, 3 candles. That is a previous high. And then here we have multiple candles, so those are previous lows. There we have 1, 2, 3, and then a push down, so there's our previous high. Those are all highs and lows. Let's have a look over here as well. There we have 1, 2, 3 candles. That's our high. 1, 2, 3 candles. That is our low. Here we have only 2 candles, but we have a strong move towards the downside, so we can still validate that as a swing high or low. That's a previous high, previous low. Then we can also identify it as just a wick. So let me give you an example on that. So this would also be an example. There is a previous high. Previous high. Because remember, relative to time and price, this was high, and then price came, went above it, and then moved down towards the downside. We can identify another one over here. There's a high, there's a high, there's a high. They're all highs, you can see. And here we have lows, 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 lows. So it's basically just structure moving towards the downside, and we identify them by the highs and the lows. Then we can just look at one more example. I want to show you something specific. Here we have a high as well, and then price moves lower. There we have a high as well. So how we look at highs and lows, we look at them as for price to reach those areas, and we're also looking for price to sweep them. What I mean by sweep, basically when we have a high, we want to see price come back up, grab all the liquidity above it, and then impulsively move down. That is a sweep, when price took the liquidity above the high and then moved impulsively towards the downside. So you can see there, price took the liquidity above that high and moved down lower. Let's look at some more examples. Here, price was just trending towards the downside, but there's another example. This wick took all the liquidity above that high and then moved down lower. Over here as well, price took all the liquidity below this low and then moved towards the upside. Here we have some lows as well, previous lows. Price took the liquidity and moved towards the upside. We have a small example over here as well. You can see there's the low. Price took the liquidity below the low and then moved towards the upside. So that is how we look at highs and lows. And then imbalance is basically just the empty space after the clean leg out. So if we look at this example again, the imbalance that we refer to is this little space created between the wicks. So don't worry, we have a lot more teachings in Bootcamp 1 on this. So remember to watch that, and then definitely you'll be able to understand this a bit better. We have our imbalance over there. Price comes, taps into the imbalance, and moves towards the upside. Here we have imbalance as well. See the wick coming into that imbalance. And let's see some more examples. Over here we had imbalance as well between that wick and this wick. You see price tapping into it. See, there's no imbalance in there because you can see that this wick and that wick taps each other, so the price is balanced and filled. We don't need to see price coming back into that area. Let's see, here we have another example. There's the imbalance. Price has not yet at this point in time reached into it, so it's still up for grabs. Let's look at this example. You can see there's the low, there's the imbalance. You can see price reaches into it, doesn't need to go all the way in, it just reaches into it and carries on towards the upside. Let's look at one more example. Here we had it as well. So that was the imbalance. And you can see how these candles traded down into it, took the imbalance there and started moving back towards the upside. So that is imbalance. And so now we have combinations of imbalance and how we look at it. So we have our order blocks, imbalance, and all highs and lows. Now I'll be looking at the combinations. So the first one is where we have a order block created, and we want to see price come back to that order block and continue up. So that is the first one, where we have an order block, price comes back to the order block, moves in the opposite direction. So remember to make notes while we watch this. The second one is where we have a order block. We can also create a low, so price failed to reach it, but then later on comes back, taps into the order block and moves up. So this is our second one. So this is number 2, where we can see that we've created a low, order block, and price reaches into it. Then we have order block and imbalance. So this one is also very nice, where we have an order block and then price comes back down. It's similar to the first one, but in this case, price may be left behind some imbalance there as well, as explained just now. And we can see price reaching back for that area as well. So we can just put this over here and we can say number 3, order block and imbalance. We can need to change this. Where is the text? Note. Oh, just normal text actually. Okay, I'm not going to do that now. So then number 4 is order block, imbalance, and previous high and low. That is my favorite, and I think that's the highest probable one out of all of them, where we have our order block, we create imbalance, we create maybe some lows, and then price taps into our area and moves towards the upside. So in this case, we have our order block marked out, we have our previous lows, and then we could see some imbalance there as well, where we have the imbalance, the lows over there, and that's then where we look for our entry. So remember, this video is not about entries, this is just liquidity profiles that we look at. So basically the liquidity. Then just imbalance, and when we have price creating just the imbalance, so we see price moving down. Let's see, we see price moving down. We have a small wick up, we see price moving down again. We have a small wick up and then down. So this whole area is our area of imbalance then, over there, because there's only one-sided price action. And then we're looking for price to reach back into this area and then continue down lower. I'll show you some examples in a bit. And then imbalance previous high and low, where we might create price pushing up, but doesn't go all the way down. And then later tries again to reach it and then move down. In this case, we have then the previous high over there, along with the imbalance. So we have our imbalance and our previous high. That is then number 6. And the last one is then just the previous high and low. So when we have created just the high, and then later we look and see if price grabs the liquidity above that high and moves down lower. And that is then just a normal sweep of a previous high and low. So that is then also one of the liquidity profiles that we look at for that sweep above the high and low. So those are all the examples that we look at. So now your job is to use this list and go find examples on the charts yourself. We'll quickly do a few examples, but then you need to do that yourself as well. So just looking at price action now. I'm going to start with the obvious one, the one that we looked at just now. And we'll just be using the tool and just plotting the thing. So first of all, we see we have a order block there. We have imbalance, and we see price taps into it and then moves up. So what is that? Order block imbalance. This is profile number 3, order block and imbalance. This side, we have price just reaching into imbalance. So we have imbalance over there. Price just taps into the imbalance and then moves up further towards the upside. So that is a number 5, just imbalance. Here we have a sweep. So we have a sweep. Price sweeps this liquidity and then moves towards the upside. But now we can combine it with a few things. So we can see in this area, we have a previous low. Price sweeps it. So we have a previous low. But there's something more, something else as well. We have this low, as discussed, this low, and we have this low. But inside this area, we potentially have something else as well. So let's just remember that we have this previous low. So we have a number 7. Let's go to a lower time frame. And we can see, what do we have here? We have an order block. Here's our order block. Because we have a clean leg out and we pushed up. So we have this area as our order block. So now on the 30-minute time frame, we're just looking at this price action. We have our previous low over there. We have our previous low and we have an order block. Do we have any imbalance? No, we only have the order block. So we're order block and previous low. So order block, previous high and low. So this is a number 2. Number 2. Liquidity profile. And price reacts of it and we see the move towards the upside. So the key thing to remember, and that you can make a note in your notes, is that we're looking for price to create these profiles on multiple time frames. That is very important. With a trade like this, you would obviously combine it with session openings. That's another key. So I'm probably going a bit ahead, but we can see 2 o'clock. That is New York open. And you can see London pushed price towards the downside into this area. How could we have anticipated it? By understanding we have a low, we have an order block, so we potentially have a profile 2 going on here, and we can potentially see then a reversal in New York session by applying the time of day as well, session openings. Let's go back to the high time frames and look at some more examples. So we have the examples of the just imbalance, just the previous high and low. Potentially this one usually syncs and aligns with a few other, but you can see we have just the high over there and this high. We sweep it and we move towards the downside. Possibly on the 1 minute we have something small on the left, but that's ideally how we would just look at it. Let's look at some more examples, as we showed just now. Here we have number 5 as well, where we just have the imbalance. Price taps into the imbalance and then moves towards the upside. Let's look for a number 4, one of my favorites. It also depends on the time frame. Sometimes I can find it on the 1 time frame and then not on the other time frame. So here's a very good number 4. Can you guess why? I hope you can. We have a very full body order block. Let's do this properly. Full body order block. We have imbalance. Okay, and we have a previous low. What happens when all our criteria are met? We have a massive expansion towards the upsides. Beautiful, isn't it? This number 4 is the most powerful one of all of them. So definitely try to look for this one. You can see it on every time frame in every direction. You can see that we have this order block zone over here. We see that we have previous highs, previous high, we have imbalance, price taps into it, moves towards the downside. Then we target the previous lows, number 7, and we move towards the upside. You see this is constantly an up and down battle. Over here as well, we have a order block. We have imbalance in this entire zone. We have these previous lows. Price taps into it, gives the reaction towards the upside. So remember, this won't always just rocket to the moon. This is always subjective to the higher time frame direction, and that we'll be looking at in the next mini lesson: higher time frame directions and daily bias. Here as well, you can see that we initially had these lows and this one as the imbalance. With this candle, we tapped into it over there, but then with this candle, we tapped into deeper, even deeper into it, and this one even deeper as well, but always staying within the balance, rebalancing price, and then moving towards the upside. Okay, guys, that is it for the first mini lesson on liquidity. Remember to watch the bootcamps. They will explain even more, in more detail, more examples. But those are the profiles. And if you ever hear of liquidity profiles, those are the liquidity profiles that we're looking at and the ones that I'm looking for. And then how I typically would try to frame my trades around those profiles. So that's my understanding of liquidity and how I use it. And throughout the morning analysis and the bootcamps and the webinars, you'll be able to identify and build the picture even better. But that is then the first mini lesson. Hope you all have a wonderful day and enjoy.